Paul Nash. What we gotta watch, what we gotta watch, what we gotta watch. Paul Nash. What we gotta watch, what we gotta watch, what we gotta watch. Paul Nash. What we gotta watch, what we gotta watch, what we gotta watch. Paul Nash. What we gotta watch, what we gotta watch, what we gotta watch. Paul Nash. What we gotta watch, what we gotta watch. Yeah, buddy, that's right. Get exposure right now. Holler at the homie Paul Mash, man, for Paul Mash TV. Hit up Paul Mash TV across all social media sites, alright? Who we got next?
Well, hello everybody. It's time for Paul Mash TV time again. And we're glad that you could join us for another episode. And we'll have an interview for you in just a minute. But as always, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Click the bell if you haven't done it already. And you'll always get the latest interviews whenever they become available. Feel free to use the comment section too. And speaking of that, on the comment section, you might notice some links to our merchandise. So check them out and see if you can get you a cap or t-shirt. You can use our email address, paulmashtv, all one word, @gmail.com. And it's for both fans and bands and solo artists on how to get on the show. So we hope that you'll do that for us. And also our Facebook page, facebook.com/paulmashtv. You can inbox us, like the page, comment on the videos and things you see there. We'd love to hear from you there. And we have an official web address as well. And all that will be recapped for you at the closing credits at the end of the show. So stay tuned for that. From Clayville, New York, we have Evan. And he's an awesome musician. And I think you're really going to like this guy. So we'll get to that in just a moment. But here's another quick word from ClickJam before we start. Don't go away.
We got history, got me feeling the nostalgia when you look at me, thinking about what could.
All right, it's interview time again, and with us from Clayville, New York, we have Evan. Thanks for joining us, Evan.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to have you on the show here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how it began for you as a musician? I mean, did you always want to be a musician? Everybody has their own stories. Let's hear yours.
Yeah, well, ever since I had a heart transplant at 12 weeks old. And, that makes you different, low muscle tone. You can't do sports. You're very weak and, you're sick. You miss a lot of school. So if I was ever in the hospital or having a surgery, music was always what I went to. In school, I didn't have a lot of friends. I was always that weird kid and like stereotypical, always had their earbuds in all the time. If I wasn't in a class, if I was walking through the hallway, my earbuds were in. Music was always, when I didn't have friends, music was my friend. I was always listening to music all the time. And I loved singing, but I didn't have training yet, so I sucked. I didn't know how to. The way my voice teacher said it was I had the voice, but I didn't know how to use it. So I started drumming. I loved drumming, and I didn't really know how to write lyrics. It wasn't like, oh, I know how to write lyrics. I actually had to figure it out. And once I figured that out, my songwriting just went from there, really.
Okay, well, that's a good story, and I'm glad that you're making music to make people happy, and that's what's important. So why don't you tell us about some of your mainstream influences? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of influences.
Oh yeah. Our main influence is Green Day. I mean, that's a lot of people when they listen, they're like, oh, that's Green Day. They can tell right off the bat. But what's different, I feel like, is even though we're, alternative punk, we do a lot of heavy double bass drums, double bass pedal. And a lot of people are like, aren't you alternative? But, I also listen to Breaking Benjamin and Avenged Sevenfold and, Stone Sour. So I'd like to put that kind of different twist on the alternative punk sound and do, you know, that double bass and the fast fills. And I feel like that's what puts us out of a lot of bands that are, oh, we're strictly punk or we're strictly alternative. I like to kind of mix, having that skill set, I guess, growing up playing to heavy metal. I like to put that twist on our punk sound, really.
Yeah, and of course, I heard some of your stuff earlier. It's pretty good, and I'm sure everybody out there will be happy to check out some of that. Why don't you tell us where we can find your music? I'm sure it's all streaming, but maybe you have physical copies as well. Maybe you can let us know.
I wish we had physical copies. If I had the resources to send out physical copies and get them laminated and get actual pictures on the discs, I would have physical copies. That would be really cool to have. But not having the money to, I have blank discs, but not having the money to get them laminated with a professional picture on the disc, and we don't have any physical ones. We have music on iTunes. I just learned that we have music on Spotify. That must have been when we first started. I put music on Spotify. I don't do that as much. I'm more of YouTube and iTunes kind of. I upload them onto there. You can find us on The Survivors on YouTube. We're also on iTunes, The Survivors. Giving Up is one of our songs. It's more easier to find us since we're not well known if you put the name of a song after our band name instead of just The Survivors, because then a ton of stuff pops up. So if you just put like The Survivors Giving Up or The Survivors Pretentious, or just Last Night, it makes it a lot easier to find us, because we found out there's a lot of YouTube channels with the name The Survivors, which we should have done research before naming our band, but we kind of just were like, it kind of made sense. My little brother actually came up with the name. It was like, hey, you had a heart transplant. Why don't we call us The Survivors? I'm like, that's pretty interesting, actually. So before we even did research, we had our YouTube channel made and everything. So I don't know. We probably should have done our research, but yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm sure everybody will enjoy, downloading your songs and listening to it. And speaking of that, what's the name of this video we're going to be playing very shortly? Is there a story behind that song?
The link I sent you is actually, let me check. I don't know if that was our first live or it might have been our second. That was our second live show we've ever done. And since I play the drums on the recordings, we don't have a drummer still. So whenever we go live, we always do an acoustic set. And so this was our first ever live performance. And I was actually, you'll be surprised, being a singer-songwriter, I actually have short-term memory. Not severe, not like I forget it in 20 seconds, but so I was actually really nervous to do an original. Doing a cover, I know those songs by heart, Green Day, I will never forget those lyrics, but a song you just wrote maybe a year ago and you're playing it live for the first time, you're please don't forget the lyrics, please, especially how long this song is. Actually, it's one of our longer songs, almost 4 minutes long, and that might not seem long, but when you're performing it, a 4-minute long song, that's like, don't forget the parts and the lyrics. And when we were done playing it live, I was just like, we did it. It was like a breath of, oh my God, I didn't forget the lyrics. And it was really fun to play that song live for the first time. It was scary at the same time as well. So that's the story behind that.
Okay. And what's the title of this song?
Yesterdays.
Yesterdays. Okay. Okay, we'll be playing that in just a moment, but just thought I'd let you know, Evan, I think that's all the time we need right now, but
thank you.
Anytime you want to come back on the show, maybe we'll have you back on sometime if you'd like.
All right. Yeah, that'll be maybe after this album is released.
Okay.
Maybe we'll come back, but that won't be, we're hoping for a 2020 release. It was supposed to be 2019. We don't want to push it back anymore. So it's going to be a 2020 release. We just don't know when yet. So our first full-length album will be this year.
Okay. Okay, so we'll go right to that video now. It's Yesterdays by the Survivors, right here on Paul Mash TV. Don't go away.
Hey, another drink out.